I joined as a circle participant on the second day of Comic Market 104. In this video, I'll be sharing the atmosphere and memories of Comiket with everyone. This time, I participated in Comiket without any prior promotion. With that, after setting up carefully, how many copies could I distribute? And what was the atmosphere like? I'll be sharing it with you. I also arrived the day before and took a little walk around the streets of Tokyo. I'll be sharing stories from that time, too. Now, I'll explain the theme of the Doujinshi and the process of joining Comiket as a circle participant. I'll go over the costs involved in creating the Doujinshi in the latter part of the video. As I mentioned at the beginning, I didn't promote this book at all. I'm so grateful to the friends who willingly joined in despite that. The theme of this Doujinshi is, without a doubt, me, Zunda Mon. At Comiket, popular genres get their own dedicated area, but since there aren't many of me yet, I was mainly placed in the digital, other section. One day, I'll make sure to become a super popular genre. Ahem. Anyway, I hope even those less interested in Doujinshi can get a feel for the circle participation experience through this video. Now on display is the timeline from the Comiket application process to the day of the event, along with the schedule one meticulously crafted for creating this Doujinshi. Comiket results are announced about 2 months before the event, but with the printing company's timeline, you really only have about a month and a half left. Considering some people can only work on weekends, it's best to get started early. Everyone, be sure to plan a schedule with enough flexibility so you can create your Doujinshi without overworking yourself. Choosing the right printing company to create the Doujinshi is also crucial. You need to select the printer that can bring to life what you want to express in your Doujinshi. I considered advice from other participants and factored in my progress and their deadlines for entry submissions to make my choice. This time, I had a few options, but I ultimately went with the major printing company Graphic. I also splurged a bit to try out their 6-color RGB printing for vibrant colors. At the same time, I started planning the booth setup. I looked at various setup examples from others and incorporated some fun ideas. And with all that, the cover illustration was finally completed. I recorded the creation process as a time-lapse, so I'll showcase it in a separate video. I set the deadline for July 31st, and all the participants managed to meet it without a single delay. It's always a good idea to set the deadline a bit earlier than the actual one, just in case any unexpected issues arise. Even after the delivery to the venue, there's still work to be done. I tested the planned setup at home to make sure I had everything, and since I had the books delivered to my home rather than the venue, I individually packed each one in a plastic cover. I also made some little Zunda Mon stickers during the Doujinshi creation process, so I packaged them in sets of 3 to sell. These tasks kept me busy until the day before the event. Actually, I even had a few last things to finish on site. In hindsight, I should have allowed a bit more time for everything. In reality, I had a few more copies printed, but I packed 150 copies, which was the limit I could carry, into a suitcase and set off. Bringing 150 copies without any promotion was, honestly, a bit reckless. But I decided to go for it anyway. Please, everyone, don't try this yourselves. Now, the question is, out of those 150 copies, how many did I manage to distribute? Stay tuned for the second half of the video to find out. I arrived in Tokyo's Shinagawa around noon the day before the event. I used to live in Tokyo for a while, but I'm always surprised by the sheer number of people. I had a pre-celebration planned with the guest participants at 6 p.m, so until then, I decided to go to Akihabara to sharpen my otaku spirit in preparation for Comiket. First, I went to drop off my luggage at my hotel, the Shinagawa Prince Hotel. There's no way I'd have the energy to carry around 150 copies with me. Plus, Tokyo was incredibly hot that day. The Shinagawa Prince Hotel has different towers, and I'm staying in the Annex Tower, which is connected to a commercial area. It's conveniently close to the station and a pretty cool building, but I heard the single rooms are a bit small, so I decided to treat myself to a more spacious room. After dropping off my luggage at the front desk, I had a light meal at the food court in the tower. I needed to keep a bit of an appetite for the celebration later, so I grabbed some takoyaki from a place called Rakujin. The outside had a unique, cookie-like texture with a nice bounce. Such an interesting feel. There was even a small piece of konnyaku inside, adding to the texture in a delightful way. Truly one of a kind. I, too, aspire to be as unique as an edamame like that. I arrived in Akihabara around 1 p.m. With so many trains running frequently in Tokyo, getting around is easy. I set foot in Akihabara once again. I had come here once during the peak of a certain epidemic, and back then, the place was practically empty. But before I knew it, it had returned to the bustling Akihabara I remember. Even though I didn't have a particular shop in mind, I decided to head over to A Stop in Akiba Culture Zone, where they sell tons of figures. A Stop is one of the largest rental showcase stores in Akihabara. People who want to sell figures can rent a space and consign their items here. Some display a chaotic mix of figures from various genres, while others create their own little themed worlds. It's a lot of fun, almost like a mini Comiket. First, I stopped by La Shinban Akihabara on the first and second floors to immerse myself in the latest otaku culture. I was surrounded by anime goods I didn't even recognize, but then my eyes caught a Shinobu Sensui figure from Yu Yu Hakusho. Are we really in Reiwa? There were also a lot of items from Strawberry Prince, Puri, which recently had a movie release. With all that's happened with Puri these past few years, I feel like I'd love to chat with the fans someday to hear their perspective. Then, I arrived at A Stop on the 5th floor. The layout seemed to have changed a bit, so it wasn't as chaotic as I remembered. And there were a ton of the recently white-themed Luffy figures from One Piece. I watch One Piece every week, too. While I'm at it, I also watch Run for the Money. It's incredibly entertaining, although it's not the kind of anime I'd readily recommend to others. It has a unique, almost addictive charm. After indulging my figure craving at A Stop, I couldn't contain myself and headed straight to a specialty figure shop. My goal was to find some Tohoku project-related goods featuring Zunda Mon. Actually, starting from August 10th, Zunda Mon merchandise had started selling in Harajuku. But since I wasn't sure I'd make it back in time for the celebration, I had to pass on it this time. Looking at social media, it seems to be pretty popular, so all 10 million Zunda Mon fans nationwide should head to Harajuku. Personally, I'd love to see more Metan merchandise too. We're waiting, official team. After a bit of walking, I arrived at Bulk's Akihabara. They were having a lively collaboration with Onimai. I'm Now Your Sister, an anime with superb deformed character designs, definitely a classic. After climbing Bulk's Akihabara's insanely steep stairs a few times, I finally reached the area with figures and model kits. They were displaying some custom-made figures, and Roll-chan looked absolutely adorable. Meanwhile, Rockman, her older brother, looked, well, a bit under the weather. It seems Oni-chan is now at his limit. Amidst all that, I found a model of myself. Of course, I bought it right away. Next, I decided to head over to 2K540, an area with stylish shops I used to love. 2K540 is named after its location, 2 kilometers and 540 meters from Tokyo Station. It's a commercial facility under the elevated tracks between Akihabara and Okachimachi, full of unique, stylish shops and a relaxing atmosphere. On the way, I passed by the Kanda fire station. Their official mascot, Kanda Yokumi-chan, was adorable. Thank you for always keeping the town safe. I arrived at 2K540 and took a look around a few shops. The one that left the biggest impression on me this time was Tomei, near the Okachimachi site. It's a beautiful store, showcasing original products that highlight the charm of acrylic, mainly focusing on tableware. From there, I headed to Okachimachi Station. After buying some small items at Yuzawaya, I decided to head back to the hotel. Along the way, I saw all sorts of stickers posted around. Even though I only walked one station, it was so hot that I wanted to take a break. So, I stopped at a place called Fiddler nearby. The iced lemonade was just what I needed to refresh my tired body. It was a wonderful place with a calm, cozy atmosphere. After a short break at the hotel, I headed out to the pre-celebration dinner spot. I forgot to record the walking scenery, but we had our pre-celebration at Monterchero, a charcoal-grilled Spanish bar about a 5-minute walk from Shinagawa Station. It was great to reconnect with those who joined as guest participants. The food was all delicious, so tasty. We had such a fun time. The paella and the meat dishes were fantastic. The non-alcoholic sangria was refreshing and paired well with the food. I highly recommend it. After we parted ways, I headed back to the hotel and went straight to bed to get ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Comiket day. Let's do this. The long-awaited event day is here. I woke up at 6 a.m. and prepared everything. I left my luggage and change of clothes at the hotel and headed to Shinagawa Station. From the hotel, it takes just over 30 minutes to reach Kakusai Tenjijo Station, the Comiket venue. It's very convenient. For a combined breakfast and lunch, I had some curry inside Shinagawa Station. It was really spicy and woke me up nicely. I transferred at Osaki to head toward Kakusai Tenjijo Station. From Osaki, I was joined by others going to Comiket, and it was as packed as a rush hour train. It was a bit suffocating. I arrived at Kakusai Tenjijo Station around 8 a.m., just as circle participants could start entering. With general attendees already filling up the place, the excitement was in full swing. You might not see it well on this screen, but at Comiket, there were people wearing all sorts of character merch and custom shirts. It was a lot of fun experiencing otaku culture up close. Circle participants were directed to use the covered pathway I'm walking on now, which made it easy to find my way. Huge thanks to the Comiket staff for all their hard work, both during and in preparation for the event. There are so many people lined up. I'm gearing myself up to carry 150 books up the stairs now. Along the path to Big Site, I noticed some messages from vegan activists. I don't particularly mind their activities, but in this heat, there were some images I'd rather not see. I hope no one felt unwell from it. In front of Big Sight, the crowd was just as massive as expected. Once inside Big Sight, though, it felt less crowded since everyone was constantly moving. I followed the flow toward my space. My space is in West Hall 1. At the setup area, there's one chair and some flyers provided. If you have an assistant for selling, you can rent an additional chair for 500 yen. Here's a quick summary of the setup tasks. Starting from the top left is the best way to go. First, confirm the items you brought. If the printing company sent your books, they're usually placed under the table. Since I sent a poster stand this time, I had to go to the pickup area to get it. It's best to set up the poster as early as possible. While there are fewer people around, other circles might notice it and think, "Oh, that's an interesting book." It's a little bit of advertising. I printed 2 posters so they'd be visible from both sides. They had a poster stand rental available too, so I didn't actually need to buy one beforehand. I could have researched better. Next, spread the cloth on the table. Just having the cloth there makes it look a lot better. After that, place any small items on top. The table size varies by event, so plan according to the event. This time, I placed a stand on the right side to display the price list, books, and stickers. I used King Jim's pegboard for these, which worked perfectly. For the stand, I put a black cloth over it and hid the change tray underneath. In front of the stand, I angled a basket and some stickers to make them easy to pick up. For setup tips, it's best to make use of vertical space. If you stack books flat, they're harder to notice from the walkway. I got ideas from other people's videos and books on POC display techniques. I also set up posters and something that moves at eye level. Since people tend to follow movement with their eyes, I used a solar-powered moving POC stand. Finally, I sprinkled a handful of edamame on the right side to complete that part of the setup. However, not a single person ended up touching the edamame. Next, I set up sample copies. To make them easy to browse, I displayed one showing the cover and another open to a spread. Then, I prepared the price tags and items to distribute, and that was it. Setup complete. Clap, 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 clap. Since I didn't record during the event, I'll share my notes on the distribution progress of the books. By the way, this time each book was 600 yen, and each sticker was 100 yen. Between 10:30 and 11 o'clock, I distributed 2 copies of the new book. I was surprised that attendees were coming by at that time, as many would typically be lining up for major circles or going after must-have items. From 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, I managed to distribute 8 more books and 4 sets of 3 different stickers. I thought, hey, maybe I can manage this without any promotion. Around 11:30, a general attendee came by and started chatting with me. It seems they might release a Zunda Mon related book for Winter Comiket. But since they've never participated in an event before, they seemed a bit nervous. I saw their illustrations, and they looked great. It might feel nerve-wracking at first, but with preparation, they'll be fine. Around 11:40, Zunda Mon appeared. Zunda Mon got one of the Zunda Mon stickers. At this point, someone mentioned that the Hatsune Miku community seems to have lost some of its energy recently. They said the Miku fandom should take a cue from the Zunda Mon community. I guess I need to deconstruct like Miku-san. At around 11:55, Otaku and Kuririn were wandering around. Otaku showed up a few more times afterward, but Kuririn disappeared. She must have gotten lost. Poor thing. From 12 o'clock to 1300, I didn't distribute many books. Instead, many people were picking up stickers. Maybe everyone was taking a lunch break. Just when I thought I kept seeing Akane wandering around, I realized she was 2 spaces behind me. Between 1300 and 1400, I managed to distribute 14 books. From around 1330, more and more people started showing up. They were moving quickly, so I thought maybe it was time to check out circles after wrapping up their main purchases. During this time, someone unfamiliar with Zunda Mon asked about my origin, so I explained. I guess my name still has a long way to go. I aspire to be like Pikachu, loved by all ages. Now, with less than 2 hours until the end of Comiket, between 1400 and 1500, I distributed 13 books and a few more stickers. It was the hottest time of day. The occasional breeze from the ocean brought a welcome relief. After 1430, people started packing up here and there. It's a bit sad, but understandable. Some people have worked the next day, and some traveled from far away. With only 1 hour left in Comiket, from 1500 to 1600, 8 more attendees came to get books. A second Zunda Mon also came by. This further strengthened the theory that Zunda Mon is a bully. In the end, the total count was 47 books and 43 stickers distributed. Thank you all so much. Clap, 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 clap. It's time to start packing up. Since I have a train to catch, I need to hurry a bit. At this moment, I exchanged new releases with the neighboring circle. It was their first time participating, and they had made lots of unique merch. I could really feel their passion for wanting to have fun. First, I cleaned up my things within the circle space. There's a trash bin in the center of the area, so I used it as needed. Leave no trace is the way to go. Next, I returned the rented items like the chair and poster stand. During this time, I found someone's AirTag, so I asked a Comiket staff member and took it to the information desk. The staff always answer questions politely, and I truly respect them for it. Finally, I sent off my remaining items. I gathered the leftover books and setup items and handed them over to the shipping company. Cash on delivery. And with that, I bid farewell to Big Sight and headed to the station. As long as I catch the train by 5 p.m., I'm good to go. Planning is key. I somehow made it back home safely. Now, I'll go over the expenses for participating in this event. There are some details I can't share due to privacy concerns, so please bear with me on that. Starting with transportation and participation fees. The transportation, including accommodation, cost about 40,000 yen. The Comiket participation fee was 8,000 yen. I also rented a chair at the venue, which cost 500 yen. The total comes to 48,500 yen. Next, let's cover the setup costs. Shipping the poster stand was 4,000 yen. Depending on the event, you might be able to source it locally, so research is key. The poster stand itself cost 3,410 yen. 2 book stands for displaying sample copies were 770 yen. They're foldable, so they're convenient to carry. Depending on the book thickness, they might be a bit tricky to keep steady. The cloth I got from a fabric store cost 1,176 yen. The solar-powered decorative pop-up was 1,075 yen. I bought the label panel from a 100 yen shop. The decorative edamame, which no one touched, was 980 yen. The basket for the edamame and stickers was 632 yen. The King Jim pegboard with attached containers cost around 3,700 yen. However, I already had this on hand. The acrylic shelf for the pegboard was from Muji and cost 1,090 yen. This was also something I already owned. For small things like tape, I used what I already had at home. I also bought some edamame snacks in case of gift exchanges. They're tasty, so I think I'll buy them as a regular snack from now on. Lastly, a cooling towel to beat the heat, which cost around 600 yen. In total, setup-related costs came to 15,491 yen. Next up is the printing cost. The new book cost about 80,000 yen to print. This was mainly because I used 6-color RGB printing, which could have been cheaper, or on the other hand, even more expensive if I had opted for more details. It also depends on the number of copies printed. This part is really about balancing your budget with what you want to express. For the stickers, I made 3 types, totaling 16,000 yen. I also made business cards. In the end, I only handed out 1, so I hope the person who received it treasures it. It's a one-of-a-kind item right now. I printed 2 A2 posters for front and back displays, which cost 2,400 yen. In total, printing costs were 99,810 yen. Lastly, miscellaneous expenses. I plan to give the guest participants Amazon gift cards proportional to their page count and cover meal costs. The pre-celebration dinner was part of that too. I also bought some books for reference on booth layouts. And to make sure I looked presentable, I spent roughly 20,000 yen on things like a trip to the hair salon and new clothes. So, the total cost for this summer Comiket Doujinshi was 228,800 yen. There are parts one intentionally left vague, but it's roughly around this amount, so no worries. Plus, there's also the cost of time invested. Whether this seems like a lot depends on each person's perspective, but just like with any hobby, you can spend as much as you want if you're inclined. Keep in mind that I deliberately took a high-cost approach for this project, compared to a typical doujinshi. Now, the total distribution earnings came to 32,600 yen. I still have copies left, so if anyone's interested, please consider buying them on booth. Purchasing through booth also supports the original Tohoku Zun project, so it's a small way to give back. You can find the link to my booth page in the description. It turns out, even without promotion, putting effort into the setup really does help draw attention. Having the chance to chat with readers is encouraging, and if there are people watching who feel anxious about joining an event because they don't have many followers, I hope this video can be helpful. Bye bye.